Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leaders Lounge Live. So excited you are here with us today. We have Alyssa DeVere. She is the co-founder of the American Confidence Institute. She's also written the book Kick-Ass Confidence, and we're really excited to bring you some great information today and have a terrific conversation with you as part of that. And it's going to be around how to accelerate your career, how to elevate more in your business, and what you can do, how you can harness confidence to achieve more of what you want. So, Alyssa, thank you so much for being with us today. How are you?
Good, Jody. I'm always thrilled to spend time with you, so thank you.
Great. It's Saturday and it's midday for you where you are.
Absolutely. Boston at the moment is where I'm based, and it's sunny and it's all good. We don't have snow.
Oh, that's good.
Good. And I know your listeners are all over the world, and we've done some of this together in the past. They're always so wonderful in terms of sending information and asking questions during and after. So I'm really excited.
Well, and thank you so much for being here. For some of the listeners listening, you may not know, but I actually got trained by Alyssa and her other co-owner, and it's just been incredible the information she has given to us and how she's trained us. And she's very busy. She presents all over the world and was just busy yesterday at a university. So I'm thank you so much for being here and sharing your time with us. And I think we'll jump in. So a lot of the people listening, they are building their career or they're changing their career. They might be building their business and they want to know how to go to that next level or take that next step or risk. And so I thought we would start with kind of how confidence plays into that and what people want more of and the big role confidence plays there.
Oh gosh, well, big questions here because, as you know, Jody, I think confidence is the fuel to everything, right? It's the fuel to your career. It's the fuel to you being a great friend, a great parent, a great whatever you want to be. And typically in our classes and our coaching and our other work that we do with folks of different walks of life, you know, entrepreneurs, but also corporate people, young people, old people say, I want more. More of what? I say to them, well, I want more money. I want to have more influence. I want to have more impact. I think in a lot of cases, they say they want to have more control of something, their lives or their budgets or whatever, but control keeps coming up. They want to have more recognition. They want other people to notice. And sometimes it's just notice maybe in who they are as a person with regards to their family, or maybe something that they've done. You know, I accomplished XYZ. I want people to take note. So these are all the wants, right? I think at the end of the day, though, the ones that we found really are the biggies. Are people want to be heard. They want to, you know, when you say something, you want to actually be heard. No surprise. They want to stand out. They don't want to be kind of the typical mediocre, you know, earn a living, get up in the morning, make the donuts kind of thing, as Lynette says, right? From the old Dunkin' Donuts ads. They don't want that. They want to have a life that's meaningful, that stands out, that's unique, but at the same time, really is meaningful to them. And I guess the last thing that is really the common thread is they want to have impact.
Yeah.
Like they don't just want to make the donuts. They want to have something that people remember, that they feel good about, that they're leaving, even if it's a small legacy, but a legacy, something that is their own. And you can't do any of those things unless you have confidence, right?
Yes, absolutely. I find I find that I'm talking with people who are there. They're at that point where they want to make that impact. They want the recognition or they want to be seen. They want to use their voice, but they haven't done it yet or before. And so it's all brand new. And so maybe some of the lack of confidence comes from, well, I haven't done it yet, or this is all new. So how does someone meander or build their confidence in a situation like that?
Wow. So, the first thing I would say is you don't flip the switch, right? It's not the kind of thing you go, okay, I'm going to have the confidence tomorrow. But with that said, the most important thing to know about confidence is that it is a thought. right? You don't become confident, so to speak. You are, or you think confidently. And so part of that is really recognizing some fundamental things. One is, are you able to do whatever you're going to do, right? So if you say, look, my own example, I was a marketing executive for many, many years. And if I had decided one day, I want to work at Cirque du Soleil, be a gymnast, probably not going to ever happen. I don't want to say never, but the sacrifice and the reality check on that is enormous, right? So I think part of it is doing an inventory, if you will. And in our courses, we do inventories with people, really examining what they're good at, but more importantly, what they really like to do. Because if you like something, you're going to do it better. You're going to have more confidence in it. But being also very honest with what is a total stretch and is it practical? And if it's not practical, okay, maybe adjusting and pivoting. Or if it's something that's a stretch, what do you need to do to get there so that you have the confidence that you can do it? It may not be that I can do it today, but there's a 3, 5, 10-year plan to get there. And when you have those kind of real questions and answers, that gives you confidence to at least go in the right direction. And if you're going in the right direction, again, you may find a year from now or 6 months from now, whatever the time frame is, ooh, you know what, I'm doing more and more of this. So for example, again, my own life, when I was marketing, I knew I didn't love marketing. I did originally, but after doing it for so long and the industry changed, I was like, yeah, there's parts of it I like, but a lot of parts I don't like. But some of the parts I love to do, I love to speak. I loved the science and the psychology, all that behind motivational stuff. So I started picking out the pieces, and lo and behold, builds a plan that over a period of 3 to 5 years, I would come and land where I am now, which is making a living as a speaker and a trainer. But again, it wasn't, I couldn't do it originally immediately for lots of reasons, financially and otherwise. But at least I knew I had a plan and a direction, and they gave me the confidence to know I was going in the right direction. And I will tell you, every year, I assess and analyze, I'm doing it right now for the coming year, to say, okay, of my assumptions, of the things that I set out for, what still fits in that kind of can do, good, like, and then makes sense for my business and myself. So that there's always a little shifting in direction, but at least the direction is the one that I'm going at, right? And so I think that's really what gives people confidence. I guess my last thought, sorry for being so lengthy in this answer, but I think it's important to say that a lot of people say they want to make a change, and then they don't do anything. They don't do anything to make it happen. They just keep saying it and saying, I want to make a change. I want to make a change. So here's the reality. You've got to do something. You've got to at least do an inventory of where you are today, where you want to be. Put a little plan together. And whether you go to somebody as brilliant as yourself with the coaching one-on-one, or you take a class, or you read a book, or you just grab a piece of paper and start writing, you got to do something.
That's what I think you said so many valuable things there about you don't have it immediately. So that, initially that takes the pressure off of people. And when I was reviewing the material and the training you gave us, I thought it was so powerful, the key confidence indicators that you have, and you kind of just described your journey with that. And that's how you can gradually build the confidence, but you're taking action all along the way, which builds the confidence.
That's right. So thank you for mentioning that. The key confidence indicators are very simple. There are 8 buckets, I call them, 8 things in our lives. It doesn't matter what you do for a living, but things that we need to manage and have control over, right? So they really give you a sense of, okay, let's take a look at my life. Where's the parts that are in good shape? Yay me, those are in good shape. And the ones that, need a little attention. There's another exercise that we actually don't do in our coaching certification, but I've been doing it with some other people, and I want to describe it, Jody, because it's one of the most powerful things you can do. And I think as an individual yourself and the people who are watching, it's life-changing, and it's so simple. And here's what it is. I call it a eulogy, a YOULOGY, right? And as depressing as it may sound initially, the exercise is this. I want you to imagine that you're standing at your own funeral and somebody's delivering a eulogy about you. And ideally it's somebody that you like and would want to do. But the exercise is to think about not what you think they're going to say, but what you would like them to say. Like, how do you want to be remembered? And I think if you do that, 3, 4, 5 sentences, it doesn't have to be a lot. It all of a sudden kind of you go, oh my God, these are my values. This is who I want to be known for. This is what's important to me. And so you do something like that. You kind of set that as literally as your foundation, your stone. And then you go and you do the KCIs, right? And you say, okay, how important is it that I look great all the time? Like, do I have to spend $300 on my hair? Well, all of a sudden, part of that might be in your eulogy that she always looked put together and she always had a beautiful glow about her. You say to yourself, yeah, you know what? That's important to me because it's in my, it's in my eulogy. I want to, you're laughing, right? It's depressing. But you know what? I always kind of giggle about it too because I think about it like, that's the one time in your life people are going to say probably the nicest things about you and you're not even there to hear it. So you might as well try to decide what you want them to say. Anyway,
I love it. That's great. You also brought up earlier just about that it's a thought, not a feeling. And I really appreciate that about your and Lynn's work about the foundation in neuroscience. And you've done studies with athletes and some of the work and the results come from work with the athletes. And so what I think is so important about that is a lot of people will be like, well, I don't feel confident, so I'm not going to go for that next job position. I'm not even going to apply. Or I don't feel confident, so I'm not going to put myself out there in the business. So it's not about feeling it. And I know we'll have some backlash about, well, you can't just think it. But maybe you can touch on where to begin with that for people.
Okay, so let me give a little bit of the brain science behind it because we do work with hundreds, if not thousands at this point, of executives and entrepreneurs. So yes, the original work started with some of the athletes to try and understand because they had a leap start relative to the commercial world. But here's the basic concept. In your brain, you have a variety of different parts and pieces, but the ones that I want to focus on there's 3 of them. One being your brainstem, which is the back of your head. It's the oldest part of your brain, our brains, and the human brains. And that's where all your autonomic kind of reactive functions are. So your breathing, your sweating, your pulse rate, all that is controlled in your brainstem. But in addition, anytime that you kind of panic, you react, you get nervous, you're scared, that's the part of your brain that actually kicks in. And even though it's in your brain, you're actually not really thinking about it. It's subconscious, right? It's or unconscious, really. It's just happening autonomically. The middle part of your brain is all your emotional stuff. So your wants and your worries, anything that you fear or that you love, all that resonates in the middle of your brain. It's called the limbic system. And then the most important part, I think, relative to this confidence conversation is what's right here, the front of your head, the prefrontal cortex. And that's the part of your brain that all the smart stuff happens, right? The conversation that we're having, where you're using our frontal cortex is like on fire right now. And anyone who's listening, because you're learning and you're concentrating, I hope. And so that's the part of the brain that all the smart stuff happens. And that's the last part of the human brain that develops for us. In fact, it doesn't even fully develop until we're 26 on average. But it also is the last part of the human evolution. It's what distinguishes us from dogs and cats and all the other, mammals and other animals and creatures in the world, because our prefrontal cortex is able to do these things. So needless to say, this is what happens. And when you walk into an interview, we'll use an interview as an example because it's the scariest, most, I think, confidence challenging scenario, right?
Yes.
And we're going to an interview, and all of a sudden we have this emotional response of, what if they don't like me? Right? It goes back to anyone who's taken Psych 101, good old Maslow. What if they don't like me? What if I don't belong in this company or this recruiter doesn't like me? Right? Or what if I even send it in on the internet and they don't like me? It doesn't even have to be an in-person interview. And so we trigger a panic emotion, a worry, a risk, a scare, fear, whatever you want to call it, but it's a negative, what if they don't like me, right? Our brains, in fact, there's a part of our brain that's like air traffic control. It's called the amygdala. Amygdala grabs that and goes, okay, we can do one of two things. We can send it into the brainstem and let the body take over, right? So basically, we sweat, we panic, we may palpitate, we may hyperventilate.
I've been there.
Right? You've been there, I've been there
Oh,
too.
yeah.
And, apply this to anything, maybe doing a presentation. I used to joke with people, you go to have dinner with your in-laws. This can happen. Like all of a sudden you're worried, and you lose control. You lose the control. Now, here's the thing. If you, for that moment, when you start to recognize that you're getting nervous and you go, nope, I'm going to move it to the front of my brain and I'm going to rationalize this. And rationalization sounds negative, but it's not. Rationalization is things like, what's the worst that can happen? And if they don't like me, it's their problem. If it's too bad for them, yeah, I still need the income, but I'm a good person and I could really contribute to this organization. So you start to kind of self-talk in a positive way and keep it up here. You remain control, and subsequently you remain control of your confidence because you're saying, you know what, I am not going to panic over this. It's something I need to do. I have something to offer. And subsequently, you know what's the worst that can happen? And or, you know what, I want to give it my best shot. So I'm going to keep control here. So you kind of do that exercise. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes, but also you start building almost muscle memory for that.
Mm-hmm.
You start to recognize I'm wigging out. I'm not going to get nervous. I'm going to get smart. And I'm going to pull it here. And it helps. Another really perfect example, a lot of people hate to present. And so I do a lot of presentation coaching and training around how do you bring not just good content onto the stage, but bring your confidence with you, right? And here's the thing. When you shift your mindset, right? This is a very in phrase, change your mindset. You change your mindset from, it's not about me. It's not about people judging me in the interview or in the presentation. It's about the impact I can have on other people. That pulls it right into the front of the brain too, right?
Yeah.
And I think as a coach, I'm going to ask you a question now. I think when you go to coach people, when you're coaching them, you're constantly trying to bring it into how do I help them? How do I help them? I bet when you're done, are you exhausted?
Yes, it can be. It can be fatigue. It takes a lot of concentration because you're listening and you're really trying to hear and you're trying to hear between the words. And then you're trying to help guide them. And yet, yes, it is exhausting because you're trying to guide with the right questions that downregulate some of the fear and anxiety of the brain is causing and elevate them to the prefrontal cortex where they can imagine what could be possible and see their potential.
Right, exactly. So you're trying to bring them up here, but think about it for yourself. So it's a very interesting thought here is that as a coach, you don't allow yourself to get panicky, right? You don't even for a second let it drop into your brainstem like, oh my God, what if I can't help this person? Oh my God, what am I going to ask them? You're so busy focused on how do I help them? What are the words? Where can I, right? That you're not even in that zone at all. And so I think and again, you've done coaching, you've trained yourself to do that. So the more you do it, the easier you almost take it for granted that you just do it. Right. And I think same thing with presenting or same thing with interviewing. When you start to kind of, make that habit, I'm using my hands as like the habit, right? Bringing it to the frontal cortex. I mean, I joke with people that you can actually train your body physically to do almost anything. Like next time you really have to go to the bathroom, we can talk potty talk, but you know what? Look or think about something intellectual because you're bringing that autonomic response again out, grabbing it and not letting it happen. So anytime that you bring something to the front consciously, mindfully, it can really support that confident state of mind.
That's great. It seems so simple and it just seems like a conscious tool, being aware of it and then practicing it.
Absolutely. Now, with that said, again, I'm going to go back to my silly analogy before of being in Cirque du Soleil. If you are not practiced and prepared, so you walk into an interview and you really don't have your ducks in a row, maybe you didn't research the company and none of this is going to necessarily make the difference, right? In fact, I think it will backfire because you get overconfident or you have fake cocky confidence, and that's worse. That's worse. But if you go in with the right preparation, whether you're coaching somebody, presenting, interviewing, and you go in with at least enough preparation, that these exercises, this mentality, this mindset can make all the difference in the world.
It's very, very powerful. I've seen it work with people. And for the people listening who are at that, let's say there's an entrepreneur and they just can't get past that income bracket and they're really trying to go for that, let's say double digit month, and they've never done it before and they've been struggling and just getting by. How important is confidence and how can they flex that muscle a bit more?
Oh, well, of course, as we said in the beginning, it's kind of the fuel for everything. So I work with a ton of entrepreneurs, as you know, in the US. I work with some of the top universities. Yesterday, I was at MIT working with the alumni mentors for the entrepreneurs at MIT, right? And so we're talking about some of the issues that entrepreneurs consistently have. And there's this underlying commonality of, again, rejection. They don't want to find that they don't belong. And so not only they won't even go there. So the typical issues are they don't want to make more sales calls or sales calls in general. They don't want to be putting themselves out there with what they're doing, what they're offering. And again, the reason is that they're nervous that somebody's going to say, no, I don't like your baby. Right?
Yes.
But there's a couple, again, some mind tricks here that I think really make a difference. We know that sales is a numbers game. You talk to any professional salesperson, they're going to say, there's some number of pitches you need to make, depending on your business, depending on your market, depending on a lot of things. But let's just say hypothetically, it's 10 to 1. You have to make 10 calls or 10 engagements to get one sales thing, right? Mm-hmm. So instead of worrying about the 9 that are going to reject you, be grateful that they reject you, because then you're closer to that one that you're going to get, right? And if you think to yourself, there is one out there, I just have to find them, it makes calling a whole lot easier. So that's a good example. I'm trying to think of some of the other things we heard yesterday. Just things like, I don't want to, I want to work more on my product or my service or whatever before I put it to market, right? I have to make sure all the dots and I's and all that is clean and everything's perfect. Women are notorious for this, right? Mm-hmm. We don't want to do anything unless it's absolutely, picture perfect. And here's the thing, in this competitive market, speed is everything, but also you don't know what's perfect until people tell you it's perfect or not for them. So putting something out, I don't say half-baked, but putting something out there with the expectation that people are going to say, I like it, but I wish it were blue. Right? All right. So, and then you can make decisions, right? And then you can have conversations and then you can say to them, it's not blue now, but maybe in the future we'll make it blue. Would you like to buy it now? And sometimes people are like, yeah, all right. So there's that kind of a fear of not having it perfect. And again, a little bit of rejection. So you just kind of have to, again, put it aside and say, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to find the 1 out of 10 people that really love what I have to offer. Some people are not going to like me. Some people are not going to like the product. And that's hard to take, particularly when you're an entrepreneur and particularly if you're financially strapped, right?
Yes. I really liked your approach, and it kind of comes into that, if an entrepreneur is afraid to put themselves out there because of rejection, you guys have a very strong foundation of confidence being built on our values. Mm-hmm. So if we have 9 people rejecting us in a row, and our value is we are so passionate about what we're doing, and it's about that value of, making an impact in the world. Then if we focus on our values and are aligned with our values, we can stand in confidence on those values. And I think you also brought the point of, or maybe you can talk about it a bit more, about being confident is having that agility as well.
Right. Well, think of the definition of confidence kind of in a generic sense. You have consumer confidence and market confidence on economic confidence. You have that whole cadre of confidence variants. And we're talking about self-confidence. Actually, I like calling it human confidence because, as you know, confidence does involve other people. So it's not just about you, what's going on in your head. But needless to say, the definition of confidence means certainty, right? You have a certainty. Now, 100% no, but you have maybe 80% certainty. They often show it on a bell curve, right? That middle part. And when we think about being certain, with regards to ourselves, it is about our values. It's about what we believe, what we feel is important, and operating, acting, reacting, doing, not doing things within that boundary of what we believe to be our values and beliefs, right? What we feel they are. When we go outside of those things, right? So let me give you an example. If I have a high value that I like to make people feel really confident, and in doing that, I want to be very eloquent and clear in my explanations, right? Mm-hmm. And I sign off from today's thing and I watch it back and I go, oh man, very wordy, I start to like find all the problems that inevitably, you can find in any video.
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden my values are being challenged. I wasn't as clear and I wasn't as powerful as I'd like to be. Here's the difference between a confident person and a not confident person be like, oh, can't believe I said that. Oh my God, I can't do that again. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get on the video again because, oh my God, I'm terrible. I can't, right? You start to kind of beat yourself up. Now I'm being extreme. Yeah. Maybe it's just, I get depressed. I'm sad. I can't shake it for a day or two. The confident person would say, how can I do that better next time? So they have a growth mindset. But equally important, they don't beat themselves up because we have self-compassion. We say, you know what? We're human. And there's days that I'm going to rock it, and there's days that maybe I'm not going to be as good, but I'm going to learn from those days. I'm going to accept those days, and I'm going to move on. And again, it's easy to say that. I'm an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur, Jody. When you are having a bad month or you have a sales goal and you're far from meeting it, like it's really hard to be like, that sales call didn't go so well, right? Yeah. But at the same time, knowing that if you can handle that bad sales call or that bad promo or video or whatever it is and go, that was not so great. What can I do to fix it, make it up, or otherwise not do it again and move on? Isn't that a healthier, more productive way to look at life, right?
Yes, very powerful. And I really like how you talk about the certainty piece and knowing. And it's certainty in ourselves and our abilities, and also certainty in our values, our mission, our purpose of what we're putting out there, and staying in that zone and being agile, having the confidence to be like, okay, I'm really glad you brought up, the perfectionism too, that we wait and wait and wait until it's perfect. And what I see a lot in women's leadership is we feel we need to prove ourselves, whether it be with endless degrees or until I have this amount of whatever. And that's not confidence. Confidence comes from within, and it doesn't come from all these external things, which I think some of us, or we've been taught that way, to rely on that as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I kind of joke about it, but I'm dead serious. Being at MIT yesterday is my 4th time this year. I teach regularly at the Wharton School. In the US, those are 2 of the top entrepreneurial, business, technical, whatever you want to call them, schools, but they're the top schools. And they call me in because the smartest people that are there, and those are some of the smartest in the world, need confidence, because intelligence and certificates and diplomas don't buy it. In fact, for another day, we can have another webinar kind of thing discussing it. Actually detracts a lot from confidence. So yeah, everybody needs confidence, but not everybody necessarily wants it. So if there's a will, there is definitely a way, as we've talked, a new mindset. And I don't think anybody is really in a position to say, I'm perfect, I'm good. In fact, the most confident people will be the first ones to tell you that they're not as confident as they think they'd like to be. right? We're always
Yeah.
working on it, always working on it. I mean, I have more stories than I have time to share about my own, even in the last couple of weeks, there's things that like I look back and I go, boy, that was dumb. Like, don't do that again, Devere, right?
Yeah.
But that's part of the confidence journey. And, statistically that confidence peaks at 60. So it takes us that long as humans to actually realize that we're pretty okay the way we are.
You know what I saw, and then we will wrap up soon. And I do want people to know more about the work you're doing currently.
Thank you.
But I thought this was such a great example that ties into what you just said. I was in a peer group coaching call a few weeks ago. And so sometimes presenting in front of your peers is difficult, right? And you don't want to feel like you don't know. But this woman was so confident, and she's probably in her 50s, maybe closer to 60. I'm not sure, but she actually said to the facilitator, I don't understand what you're asking. Can you just go through that again? But she said it with such confidence. And I don't think the rest of us would have had the humility to be like, I'm so confident in my knowledge and that I know things that I'm okay to admit I'm not sure what you're asking here or how to do this. She just did it with such poise. And I thought, it wasn't humility, it was confidence in herself that allowed her to admit in front of her peers, I just need a little bit more guidance here and then I can run with it. And then she was flawless.
Mm.
As soon as she knew it, understood it correctly. And it was just so powerful, that admittance, because I think a lot of us would have faked it and just kind of jumped in. But I think that's an example of being so confident in your own ability to do your best and to do what you can with what you have and who you are and your intention.
Yeah, and you just like let slip one of the things that that I'm so not on board with in terms of I don't think you can fake it till you make it. I actually really don't think you can fake it till you make it. So one of the most powerful things that a corporate person or an entrepreneur can say is, I don't know. I don't know the answer, or I'm not familiar with that. Can you explain, or can I have more time to do some research? And it does take a lot of confidence to be able to say, especially with peers, or if you're in a sales call, or yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm really interested to get it. Can you provide information? Can I go off and get more information? That can change a sales call 1,000%, because now people trust you. They believe you. When you try to fake it till you make it, nobody's buying it. We all know it. We all see it. We recognize it, and it breaks that trust immediately. So point I had a bake there. Anyway,
Okay,
I
great.
love this stuff. I could talk all day, but needless to say, right?
Yeah, and tell people you have a fabulous program for mid-career women. Do you want to explain a little bit about what you're doing or how people can find out more about what you're doing?
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, it is really fabulous. It's, I almost want to cry every time I think about the transformations that we see that happen in the group. So it is a peer group program. We get together virtually online, so you can be based anywhere. We run it in the evening Eastern time schedule, 7:30 to 9. And it's once, give or take a week, depending on the schedule and the holidays. But it's a 6-week program. And we do confident mindset, what a little bit of the things we talked about today, of course, but in a lot more depth. We do a lot of really fun exercises, including working with the KCIs and the eulogies and things of that sort. But then the second half of the course, we map out a career direction, and whether somebody knows their next job and wants to just get that next promotion or the next raise, or is an entrepreneur, or has no idea what they want to do next. They just know that they want to do something differently. They maybe very differently, join the circus, or literally just find something that's closer to their heart and to what they really want to do in this next phase of their life. So we have exercises and templates and things that we do. So again, 6 weeks online, you can virtually. I lead it, so you get to hear my voice at night. But needless to say, there's also a Facebook group that we have a lot of wonderful interactions, and it's as close to magic, I think, as you can get when it comes to kind of really transforming yourself and getting to the next step concretely.
I think that the fact that you're combining kind of career planning and career advancement with confidence is what accelerates them in the direction they want to go, whether it's to a higher level, a new position, a complete transformation or transition. but it's that confidence piece that gives them the ability to do all of that. And you're giving them all of that in one program.
That's right. So, and this is the beautiful part. So they come into the Career Acceleration Program, as we call it, and they do all this work. And then somebody like yourself, who's a certified confidence coach, can really help them longer term, maintain that accountability and kind of that, making sure that the direction is still in place and all. So it's a beautiful way for our confidence coaches like yourself and the other folks around the world now to kind of really help people achieve their dreams in a very efficient and beautiful way.
Great. It sounds fabulous. And where can they find information, or can they find you?
Well, kick-ass hyphen confidence. So kick-ass, one word, hyphen confidence.com. And the Career Acceleration programs are under the program section. So we are revving up for our Q1 programs. We have another one running for mid-career women, and then we do some other segments. So anyone who's interested, take a gander. We have some for senior executives as well as emerging leaders, and they all run similarly, but the cohorts, the peer groups, are segmented to make sure everybody really gets the value out of it from each other.
Sounds amazing. And is there any last takeaway or action you want the listeners to take for themselves?
Oh gosh, well, obviously call me, connect with me, join our tribe, our confidence crusade. Jody and I are two of the many folks running around the world now trying to bring more confidence to everyone. And any way that you want to plug in, we have a blog, we have a monthly email with some really cool video in it. So there's lots of ways to connect, and I would invite somebody, if they're not ready to take the program or otherwise, just get on the website, sign up, and just become part of the community. That would mean so much to me.
Great. I want to thank you so much, both you and Lynn, for the work you have put out there. I can speak from a coach's perspective. The work that you have gives us confidence, and really the science behind it and the method and the whole platform. You have allowed ripple effects everywhere out in the world to build people's confidence to have more of what they want. So thank you for the impact you are having and for your time on a Saturday to be with us here on Leaders Lounge. I really appreciate it.
You just gave me the gift of confidence. So thank you, right back at you, babe. I love it. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And go out and keep doing all the great work you're doing in the world.
You too. Thanks.
Have a great weekend. Bye.